The most important factor that keeps a soldier alive is faith. And a belief against what? Of course, a belief in victory. At the same time, a soldier who has faith in his commander and the leader will also have more survival instincts. What if the soldier does not have the faith in his commander or leader? What happens if at the same time he testifies that his commander or leader sacrificed his soldier out of sight? Here are the soldiers in the Russian army facing such a situation. The advances made by the Ukrainian army on the front line in recent days also prove this. A critical period is taking place in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The Ukrainian army, which continues its counteroffensive operation, is making significant gains, especially on the Bakhmut and Zaporizhia front line. In addition, the Ukrainian army, which has also increased its pressure on the Crimean peninsula, has caused the Russian army to be cornered. Russian soldiers, on the other hand, are quite angry with the Russian Federation President Vladimir Putin for his leadership of the war. This situation has also recently been revealed by the images published by the Russian soldiers on the front line. So, what is the latest situation on the front line? Let's take a look at the developments together. Recently, a Russian unit serving on the front line shared a very remarkable video with the public via social media. As you may remember, in our previous reports, I told you about the statements of the Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu. In the statement in question, Sergei Shoigu said, when asked about the possibility of the Russian army winning the war, he was responding by, "I don't know." We also noted that Sergei Shoigu's statements would cause great discomfort for the Russian troops, and many Russian soldiers would react against the Russian Defense Ministry after these statements. The pioneer was right once again. Russian troops revealed a video immediately after the statements of Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu, expressing the problems on the front line. In the video in question, Russian soldiers who claim to be part of the 1008 Motor Rifle Regiment used the following statements. "We, who have been taking part in the special military operations in Ukraine since December 16, 2022, are informing you about the current situation on the front line. From August 25, 2023 to September 12, 2023, we conducted combat missions in the settlements of Klishchiivka and Donetsk People's Republic. Our military command failed to provide us with artillery support or counter-battery defense. There is also a complete lack of electronic warfare activity. Secondly, there are personnel losses of between 10 and 35% of total. We can put an end to these losses with the immediate withdrawal of the units from the front lines. In this way, we can establish stronger defense lines behind the front lines. As of today, we have already 2530 people. We have lost 50% of the manpower of the entire regiment. Also, all of the war leadership assigned us here, there is no official record of us serving here. They're hiding us. They also don't pay us the salaries we should receive. They sentence us to death here. The war leadership should investigate the commander here. He should examine the pressure being applied to us. He must urgently take action both on artillery support and on the leadership. Otherwise, we will be unable to fight here. The enemy will recapture these areas we captured at the end of the long efforts." Together with this video released by the Russian troops, the situation in which the Russian soldiers are clearly revealed. We see this here. The Russian General Staff of the Russian Defense Ministry do not provide support to the Russian soldiers on the front line. The pressure exerted by the Ukrainian army's artillery units on the Russian forces on the front line is leading to the attrition of the Russian troops. Therefore, Russian troops need counter-battery support to protect them from these artillery attacks. However, the Russian General Staff does not provide this support to the front line. It also does not officially register soldiers serving on the front line. This prevents Russian soldiers from enjoying any rights for their families if they die on the front line. I think that in the coming days we will be faced with many more images about the difficulties faced by the Russian soldiers. Even these difficulties will increase even more. Because winter is approaching. As you may remember, last winter many Russian soldiers could not get the supplies they needed to protect themselves from the cold. Even for this reason, a large part of these soldiers had deserted. Unable to protect themselves from the cold, Russian soldiers had increased the frequency of drinking alcohol to keep themselves warm. The intoxication effect of the alcohol had also led to many problems on the front line. At the beginning of these problems, drunken soldiers are fighting with each other. In addition, the vast majority of these fights ended in death. Again, these drunken soldiers, not knowing what they were doing, opened fire on their own friends, which also caused huge explosions in ammunition depots. Therefore, we can say that the Russian army may face such a problem in the coming days. The winter season is preparing quite big surprises both for the Russian army and both for the Russian administration. Another issue that attracts attention is the Crimean Peninsula. In recent reports, we often cover developments in the Crimean Peninsula. As you may recall, the Ukrainian Air Force recently carried out a very critical operation in the port of Sevastopol in the south of Crimean Peninsula. During this operation, a very important facility belonging to the Russian Navy was hit. Important destroyers of the Russian Black Sea Fleet were located at the facility. Even some of these destroyers have become unusable after the operation. According to recent reports, the Ukrainian army has increased the frequency of the attacks on the Crimean Peninsula. Many Russian military experts, on the other hand, say that the Russian defense has reached a fragile state. The Crimean Peninsula may soon come under the control of the Ukrainian military. This used to be considered impossible, but at the moment it is difficult, not impossible. Many experts say that as the war progresses, the residual capacity of the Russian defenses on the Crimean Peninsula is decreasing. So, how will the Crimean Peninsula be liberated? There are also many theories and many scenarios about this. The dominant scenario is that the Crimean Peninsula could be captured if the Ukrainian army's counterattack on the Zaporizhia frontline is supported by the counterattack to be launched from Kherson. Only in this case, the Ukrainian army can create a wider area of pressure on the Crimean Peninsula. Even in this scenario, there is a dangerous part. It is also near the Kerch Bridge, the point where the Crimean Peninsula connects to Russia. Since this region is close to the Russian mainland, the Ukrainian army may face danger here. However, this threat can be eliminated if the Ukrainian army also captures Mariupol and Berdyansk during this advance into the Crimean Peninsula. What do you guys think? Do you think the Russian soldiers will rebel against Russian rule? What are your ideas about the description of the Russian soldiers? Will we see Russian soldiers deserting during the winter season? What do you think about the Crimean Peninsula scenarios? Mention it in the comments. I'm reading and caring about all your comments.